watching Batman vs Superman the other day, I completely forgot about the scene when Flash time travels back to warn Batman about Superman, and you might have forgotten this as well. But looking at the Justice League movie, they never really addressed this in the movie at all. But I think I know exactly why the Flash was time traveling back in time to warn Batman about Superman and how maybe he could become evil in the Justice League movie. How's it going, Webheads? My name is Ryan Walsh. Now, right off the bat, I do have to say I wasn't the biggest fan of Zack Snyder's vision for the Justice League and the DC universe, but that doesn't mean I wasn't interested in what he was planning on doing with the future Justice League movies. I actually was very curious about this. And I have to say, one of my biggest pet peeves about movies is when they tease a certain storyline, but they never follow through with it. And that's exactly what happened with the Flash time traveling in Batman vs Superman. Of course, it is worth mentioning that Zack Snyder was fired from Justice League and Josh Whedon replaced him. The same director who directed the Avengers movie and Avengers Age of Ultron, he came on and they had massive reshoots on this film. I mean, it was pretty obvious when you see Henry Cavill in the movie, and a lot of the scenes that he was in just looked like his face was completely CGI'd on, and it just looks absolutely horrible. So that's the main reason why Justice League just wasn't following the same storyline that Batman vs Superman was really setting up. And also, it's worth mentioning that Justice League was going to be originally split into two different movies. We didn't get to see exactly what Zack Snyder's overall plan was going to be. Now, with all that said, figuring out why Flash was time traveling, we need to know exactly what Zack Snyder's vision was going to be and what he had in mind. And we can do this several ways, really just looking at the Batman Knightmare scene in when Flash was time traveling. What were they really setting up there? What could have been the possible outcome from what Flash was warning Batman? And to do that, I think we need to go back to that Batman Nightmare scene and really look for some clues on what could happen in the future of the DCU movies. And the Nightmare really starts with Bruce Wayne seeing the aftermath of Darkseid invading, and it's basically the end of the world. Now, side note, we don't know for sure if Darkseid was going to be in the Justice League movies, but I'm pretty positive he was going to be, because we do see the Omega symbol in the dream, which is clearly a Darkseid reference. And it's pretty obvious when you're doing someone like Steppenwolf for the first Justice League movie that the next one was probably going to have Darkseid within it. But getting back into it, it very much foreshadows Darkseid, Apocalypse, and the Parademons, mainly because if you just look at the whole planet of Earth, it turned into Apocalypse itself. It looks exactly like it, where you can see the giant holes with fire in them, and it's literally coming right out of the planet. And then the Parademons were actually in this dream sequence as well. But of course, we don't see Darkseid or Steppenwolf. Instead, we just get evil Superman. He is the villain of this dream, making it seem like Superman in the not too distant future is going to be completely evil and turn on all of humanity. And then right after evil Superman kills Batman in this dream sequence, we get the Flash in some sort of armor using the Speed Force to travel back in time and warn Bruce Wayne about Superman. And not only did Flash warn Batman about Superman, but he was also saying that Lois Lane was the key, and then Bruce needs to find the Justice League and unite them to take on the coming threat. But what does that all really mean? And you can't convince me that Batman making sure Lois Lane is there to calm down Superman after his resurrection is what Zack Snyder had in mind with this scene. That just doesn't make any sense at all. This Nightmare scene was meant to be a really big moment. Something like the end of the world, where Batman's nightmare actually comes true. And this is probably what the second Justice League movie was going to look like. And before a lot of you say there's no way that Zack Snyder would destroy the entire world in the Justice League movie, if you just look at the movies that he's done already, like Man of Steel, there was a lot of destruction. The majority of Metropolis got completely destroyed, and then in Batman vs Superman, when Doomsday came, the destruction got even worse in that movie. So saying that he could destroy the entire world, I personally really could see this happening. Now, before we go any further in this theory, I do want to do a quick shout out of the day, and this comes from Spider Boy from my last video. But of course, if you want your comment shouted out, definitely comment below so you guys have a chance in that for the next video. But let's keep going with the theory. And I feel like the Flash time travel scene really was a lot like what Tony Stark got in Avengers Age of Ultron. Really looking at Tony Stark, he saw all of the Avengers die, and the thing is, in Infinity War, that very much happened, where we did see a lot of the Avengers die. There was nothing that he could have done to prevent it. The only thing he could do was prepare for that moment. And it was just destiny. It was destined to happen. And with this whole Flash time travel scene, the only information that we have is that Batman needs to unite the Justice League keep Lois Lane safe, and beware of Superman. And if we look at exactly what he did already, he did unite the Justice League with Wonder Woman's help, and he probably was keeping an eye on Lois Lane this entire time. But what about Superman? In the Justice League movie, Batman wants to bring Superman back to life. Now, this right here does not make any sense at all. I feel like he would want to keep Superman dead because if he brings him back, that's going to be an even greater threat upon everybody. And instead of Batman and the Justice League bringing him back to life, I feel like Zack Snyder wanted Steppenwolf to bring Superman back to life, where if Superman was raised from the dead from Steppenwolf, they could have easily brainwashed him into thinking that humanity and the Justice League are the enemies, and that could have spawned for the second Justice League movie. And looking at the comic books and some of the animated movies, we look at the New 52 Justice League run and the Justice League War movie. In both of those, we can see Superman getting mind controlled by some apocalypse scientists. So personally for me, I really could see Steppenwolf raising Superman from the dead, then brainwashing him a little bit, and then having him become evil. And the only way to stop Superman in Justice League Part 2 would be Lois Lane. And yes, I still think that the Justice League was going to overcome Steppenwolf, and he was never really going to be the major threat. Instead, when Steppenwolf gets defeated and the unity is never completed, that's when we see Superman and some of the parademons get boomed to back to Apocalypse, where Darkseid can really start his invasion in Justice League Part 2, and Superman would remain evil for 2 movies. And yes, I do think Zack Snyder wanted Superman to remain evil just so that he could take Superman into the Justice League 2 movie, have Darkseid's invasion on Earth, and Batman's nightmare scene could come true, where we do see Superman on the opposite side of the Justice League. And I think the most likely thing to happen in that Justice League Part 2 movie is that when Darkseid comes and invades all of Earth, instead of Steppenwolf failing to get all of the mother boxes together to create the unity, instead it's going to be Darkseid. And this is what turns the entire planet into an apocalypse planet. And we do know from the Justice League movie that if all 3 mother boxes are put together and the unity is completed, the entire planet is going to turn into another apocalypse. So we do know that for a fact. So this entire Batman nightmare scene would literally come true, except we would probably have the Green Lantern Corps coming in as well, because we do know that a post-credit scene in Justice League was going to feature the Green Lantern Corps. So we would have Atlantis, the Amazons, all of man, and the Green Lantern Corps fighting against Superman and Darkseid and the Parademons in Justice League Part 2. And then of course with Lois Lane being there, this is probably what turns Superman good again. And then they all defeat Darkseid and then turn the Earth back to what it normally was supposed to be and completely erase everything that happened with the mother boxes. But of course, Webheads, what do you guys think was going to happen with this Flash time travel scene? Let me know down in the comments below. If you want more DC videos in the future, definitely consider subscribing down below and turning on the notification bell, and definitely check out this playlist over here for more DC videos. But Webheads, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Bye.